My son abandoned me for 15 years. Then one morning, he showed up at my mansion with his wife and expensive luggage. He said he had a right to my money and was moving in. I smiled and finally did what I should have done long ago. Before we proceed, thank you for watching Granny's narrative. Please subscribe and tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. That Sunday afternoon, I was in my kitchen making lemon cake when the doorbell rang. I wiped my flour-covered hands on my apron and walked to the door. When I opened it, my heart stopped. There stood Michael, my only son. Next to him was his wife Jessica, her designer handbag hanging from her arm like a trophy. Behind them were 4 matching suitcases that probably cost more than most people make in a month. Michael did not smile. He did not say hello. He did not say he missed me. The first words out of his mouth were simple and cold. "We need to talk, Mom. Can we come in?" 15 years of silence. 15 years of unanswered calls and returned letters. And these were his first words to me. I stepped aside and let them in. They walked through my home like they were shopping for real estate. Jessica ran her fingers along the marble countertop in the kitchen. She looked up at the chandelier in the dining room. She peeked into the living room with its leather furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows. "Nice place," she said with a thin smile. "Really nice. Must have cost a fortune." I sat down on the sofa and waited. My hands were shaking, but I kept them folded in my lap. Michael cleared his throat and sat across from me. Jessica remained standing, looking around like she was taking inventory. "Mom, I know it has been a long time. I know we have not talked. But when we heard about your success, we thought it was time to reconnect. To be a family again." I said nothing. I just stared at him. Jessica jumped in quickly. "We saw the article about you in that business magazine. Senior baker builds $1 million empire. 6 bakeries. $4 million in annual revenue. We are so proud of you." Her voice was sweet like honey, but there was poison underneath. "So why are you here?" I asked quietly. Michael leaned forward. "Mom, you are living in this big house all alone. What if something happens to you? What if you fall or get sick? You need family around you." Jessica nodded eagerly. "That is why we want to move in. This house has plenty of room. And honestly, Michael is your only son. He has a right to this property. It will be his someday anyway, right?" There it was. The real reason. They did not come for me. They came for my money. I looked at Michael, my son, the boy I raised and loved. Now he sat before me like a stranger wearing a mask. "Did you bring Eric?" I asked. Michael froze. "Eric? My grandson. He should be 17 now." "Eric is busy with school," Michael said quickly. "You know how teenagers are." "I see," I said slowly. "You must be tired from your trip. Let me show you to a guest room. You can stay for a few days." Jessica smiled wide. "Perfect. Thank you so much, Mom." But as I led them upstairs, my mind was already working. They thought I was a foolish old woman they could manipulate. They had no idea who they were dealing with. The woman they threw out 15 years ago had learned how to fight back. Let me tell you how I got here. How I went from sleeping on a friend's couch to owning a mansion. Because that story is important. It started with the worst day of my life. The day I buried my husband, Robert. He died at 61 from a massive heart attack. I woke up one morning and found him cold beside me. No warning. No goodbye. Just gone. At the funeral, Michael barely looked at me. Jessica spent the whole time on her phone. They left early, saying 3-year-old Eric could not be away from the babysitter too long. I was too broken to argue. 4 days later, Michael came back. This time he brought Jessica and a lawyer. "Mom, we need to talk about the house," Michael said. The lawyer opened his briefcase and pulled out papers. "Mrs. Harrison, this house is under joint ownership between your late husband and your son. Mr. Robert left 50% to Michael 5 years ago. That makes Michael a co-owner." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. "Robert never told me this." "Why?" I whispered. "Dad did it to protect the house," Michael said coldly. "So it would not get taken if anything happened. But I live here. This is my home." Jessica leaned forward with fake sympathy on her face. "The thing is, Mom, we need this house. We are drowning in debt. Our apartment is too small for Eric. And honestly, you do not need this much space. My heart was pounding. You want to kick me out of my own home? The lawyer spoke up. Mr. Michael is willing to help you relocate to a small apartment. He will also provide $200 per month for expenses. $200. For 35 years of marriage. For raising a son. For building a life. Michael, I said, my voice shaking. I am your mother. You cannot do this to me. He would not look at me. It is just business, Mom. Nothing personal. Jessica sighed like I was being difficult. We will give you 3 weeks to pack and move out. That should be plenty of time. Begged. Cried. Got on my knees. But Michael did not change his mind. Jessica smiled the whole time. The lawyer handed me papers to sign. On moving day, I packed my entire life into 3 suitcases and 5 cardboard boxes. Wedding photos. My mother's dishes. The clock that belonged to my grandmother. As I carried the clock to the door, Jessica stopped me. Leave the clock. It matches my new living room. This belonged to my grandmother, I said, holding it tight. And now it belongs to me. This is our house now. Michael stayed upstairs the entire time. He did not even come down to say goodbye. When the door closed behind me, I sat on the sidewalk and cried until I could not breathe. My best friend Linda found me there 2 hours later. Linda lived 3 blocks away. When she heard what happened, she came running. She held me while I sobbed and did not ask any questions. She just took me home. I slept on Linda's couch for 6 months. Every night I called Michael. Every night I left tearful messages begging him to talk to me. He never answered. Not once. On Eric's 4th birthday, I bought him a remote control fire truck. I knew he would love it. I went to what used to be my house and rang the bell. Jessica opened the door. Her smile disappeared when she saw me. What do you want? I came to give Eric a birthday present. Can I see him for just 5 minutes? Eric does not want to see you. He does not even ask about you anymore. He is 4 years old, I said. Course he asks about me. Jessica laughed. I told him you did not want to be in his life anymore. He believed me. Kids are easy like that. Now leave before I call the police. She slammed the door in my face. I went back to Linda's apartment holding that unwrapped present. That night, sitting on her couch at 2 in the morning, I made a decision. I would not let them destroy me. I would not disappear. I would rebuild my life and become someone they would regret throwing away. Once you lose everything, you have nothing left to fear. And a woman with nothing to fear is dangerous. The next morning I got out of bed. For the first time in months I had a purpose. Linda's daughter Emma was 9 years old. She sat with me one afternoon while I was crying. Miss Sarah, why are you always so sad? She asked. I lost everything, sweetheart. My home. My family. Everything. My mom says when she is sad she bakes cookies. Do you know how to bake? Something sparked inside me. Do. My mother taught me to bake when I was 14. Every recipe was written in her notebook in shaky handwriting. Baking was how I felt connected to her. That day I went to the kitchen. Linda's fridge was almost empty. She was struggling to pay bills while feeding both of us. But I found 3 eggs, some flour, a little sugar, and 1 brown banana. I made a simple cake. Nothing fancy. But when Emma took a bite and closed her eyes with happiness, something inside me woke up. This is the best cake I ever ate, she said. That night Linda tried it. Sarah, this is incredible. You should sell this. Who would buy a cake from a broke old woman? I said bitterly. Everyone. Working moms who do not have time to bake. People who want homemade desserts without the work. Trust me. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I took my last $400 and went to the grocery store. I bought ingredients and started baking. I made 12 cakes that first week in Linda's tiny oven. I wrapped each one in brown paper and tied it with string. Linda sold them at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. $20 each. The first month I made $240. The second month $500. By the third month $900. People kept ordering more. 1 year later, I rented a studio apartment. 1 room with a tiny kitchen and bathroom. It was cramped and old, but it was mine. I saved every penny to take professional baking classes. My teacher was a man named Pierre. He was strict and mean. On my first day he looked at me and said, "You are the oldest student here. Think you can keep up?" I graduated top of my class. Pierre introduced me to Mr. Davies. He was 70 years old and used to own a chain of bookstores. Now he invested in small businesses. He tried my salted caramel chocolate cake at a food festival. After one bite he said, "This is magic." Ever thought about expanding? With what money, I said. Can barely pay rent. What if I invest? 50-50 partnership. You have the talent. Have the money. Thought he was joking. But Mr. Davies was serious. 2 months later we opened our first dessert cart. Sweet Sarah, painted pink and white. We parked it near the busy downtown park. On opening day the line wrapped around the block. I worked 16 hours a day. But 4 in the morning to prep. Serving customers until midnight. My hair turned completely gray. My hands got wrinkled and scarred from burns. But my eyes were alive again. Mr. Davies became more than a business partner. He was my best friend. He had lost his wife 4 years earlier. He understood loneliness. 3 years after opening the cart, we launched our first real bakery in an expensive neighborhood. Sweet Sarah's Bakery sold cakes for $200 each. Pastries for $10. People drove from across the city to try my desserts. Food magazines wrote about me. Bloggers posted photos of my cakes online. Could not believe it. 5 years later I had 4 bakeries. 8 years later, 6 bakeries across 3 cities. Over $4 million in yearly revenue. 22 employees. My face on magazine covers with headlines like, "She started over at 58 and built a baking empire." I bought a mansion because I could. 5 bedrooms. 7 bathrooms. Pool. A garden with a fountain. Paid in full. No debt. On moving day, Mr. Davies hugged me with tears in his eyes. "You deserve every inch of this place, Sarah." I never contacted Michael again. I learned that some doors should stay closed. Some people do not deserve a place in your life no matter how much blood you share. Until that Sunday when he showed up at my door with his suitcases and his greedy wife. The first 3 days Michael and Jessica stayed in my house were a lesson in shamelessness. On day 1 they were polite. Asking permission to use things. Saying thank you. Jessica kept her sugary voice. "We are so grateful you are letting us stay here, Mom." By day 2 the mask started slipping. I woke up early and found Jessica in my kitchen. She was pulling my handmade ceramic bowls out of the cabinets and putting them on the floor. "Good morning," she said too cheerfully. "I'm just reorganizing. These cabinets are such a mess." "Jessica, those bowls are arranged exactly how I want them." She laughed. "Oh, Mom, you have lived alone too long. You probably stopped noticing order. Do not worry. I will make things more efficient. After all, we will be living here permanently soon." Living here permanently. She said it like it was already decided. An hour later, Michael came downstairs wearing a bathrobe. My bathrobe from the master bathroom. "Morning, Mom. Oh, it smells good. Pound cake. I made it every Sunday for myself." Before I could answer, he took 3 slices and sat down like he owned the place. Jessica poured coffee from my expensive Japanese coffee pot. The one Mr. Davies gave me for my birthday. She spilled some on my tablecloth. "I've been thinking," she said. "This house is lovely but it needs updates. The wallpaper in the dining room is so old. And these heavy curtains need to go. We should get something lighter and more modern." "I like those curtains," I said quietly. Jessica smiled like she was talking to a confused child. "I know you do. But when people get older, their taste slips a little. That is why younger people are here to help update things." Michael said nothing. He just kept eating my cake. By day 3 they crossed every line. I came home from a meeting and found Jessica in my private office. She was sitting at my desk with my computer open. "What are you doing?" I asked sharply. Jessica did not even look startled. "Oh, hi, Mom. Just taking a look around. You left your computer unlocked. That is not safe. Anyone could see your important files." My heart raced. "Has a password. How did you get in? Michael figured it out. He said you always use Robert's birthday as passwords. He was right. She laughed. You really should change it. Too easy to guess. Get out of my office. Jessica stood up slowly, hands raised. Calm down, Mom. I just wanted to understand your business better. Michael needs to know how things work for when you cannot manage anymore. I am managing 6 bakeries just fine. Oh, but you are almost 70, she said sweetly. Sooner or later you will forget something important. Sign the wrong paper. Make a bad decision. That is how old people lose everything. We are here to protect you from that. That night I could not sleep. I put a glass against the wall between my bedroom and their guest room. An old trick, but it worked. I heard everything. She is not going to hand over control easily, Jessica whispered. Your mom is stubborn. We need to move faster. I already photographed all her documents, she continued. I sent them to our lawyer. He says if we can prove she is mentally unfit, we can petition the court to take control. Then everything becomes ours. My blood went cold. But she does not seem confused, Michael said quietly. You just do not see it yet, Jessica snapped. I will start planting doubts. Ask her the same questions twice. Pretend she forgets things. Record it. The lawyer said a few videos and 1 doctor's note will do the trick. What about Eric? Michael asked. My heart ached hearing my grandson's name. He cannot know about this. If he finds out Grandma is alive and successful, he will want to see her. We cannot let that happen until we have the money secured. Silence. Then Michael spoke again. Sometimes I wonder if we are doing the right thing. Jessica's voice turned to ice. You want to go back to living in your brother's basement. Because that is where we will be if this does not work. Your mother has millions. It will be yours eventually anyway. We are just speeding things up. I lowered the glass, shaking in the dark. They did not come to reconnect. They came to steal everything. And they planned to destroy my reputation to do it. I grabbed my phone and texted Mr. Davies. I need security cameras installed secretly. And a private investigator. Tomorrow. He replied immediately. I will have people there in the morning. Stay strong, Sarah. You have beaten worse before. I lay back on my bed staring at the ceiling. A small smile crossed my face. They wanted me to look weak. Fine. I would give them the performance of their lives. The best way to catch a snake is to let it think it is invisible. The next morning when Michael and Jessica came downstairs, I was already at the kitchen table wearing a flowered dress. The perfect image of a harmless grandmother. Good morning, you two, I said sweetly. Jessica and Michael exchanged a look. Morning, Mum. Sleep well, Jessica asked. Very well. Though I had some strange dreams. What kind of dreams? Jessica asked quickly. Too quickly. Oh, nothing much, I said slowly. I dreamed I was looking for something in the old house where Michael grew up. But I could not remember what I was looking for. I scratched my head looking confused. Funny how memory plays tricks at my age. Jessica's eyes lit up like a shark smelling blood. That is very normal at your age, Mom. Yesterday you mentioned your bakeries. How many do you have again? 6, right? Pause. Did I say 6? Or was it 5? Maybe 1 closed. Cannot quite remember. I smiled weakly. But that is fine. Mr. Davies helps me with those things. Jessica leaned forward taking mental notes. Mr. Davies helps you with what exactly? Oh, just numbers and paperwork. I am terrible with all that business stuff. It was a perfect lie. For the next 4 days I kept up the act. Asking questions I already knew the answers to. Leaving my phone in obvious places. Forgetting names. Calling Michael by his father's name and then correcting myself. Jessica recorded everything with that smug smile on her face. Meanwhile, Mr. Davies had his people working. 5 hidden cameras were installed throughout my house. The office, the living room, the kitchen, the hallway upstairs, and their guest room. All recording in high definition. All automatically uploading to a secure cloud only Mr. Davies and I could access. The private investigator, a quiet man named James, delivered his first report 5 days later. I locked myself in my office to read it. My hands shook as I turned each page. Michael Harrison, 43 years old. Extensive gambling debts totaling $412,000. 3 online betting companies have sued him. Their home was foreclosed 6 months ago. Current bank balance, negative $15,000. I kept reading, my heart sinking with every word. Jessica Harrison, 41 years old. 4 credit cards frozen for non-payment. Currently being sued by her former employer for embezzling $60,000. 2 months ago, police repossessed her luxury SUV for non-payment. They were not just greedy. They were desperate, drowning in debt. And I was their lifeline. But the next part of the report made me stop breathing. Eric Harrison, 17 years old. Currently living with his uncle David since April. Reason: both parents temporarily lost custody after allegations of neglect and abandonment. Case under review by family court. My grandson, the baby I used to hold. He had been taken from his parents and did not even know I existed. Tears streamed down my face. They had lied to everyone, even their own child. That night I watched footage from the hidden cameras. 7 days of recordings. Every minute confirmed what I suspected. In one clip, Michael was in my office alone. He opened my filing cabinet. He took photos of every document with his phone. Financial statements, property deeds, bank records, everything. In another clip, Jessica was on the phone in their room. Yes, this is Jessica Harrison calling for Mr. Franklin. I have the documents you requested. She has $6,400,000 in liquid assets. Not counting the house and businesses. Can you prepare the paperwork we discussed? The medical evaluation forms. Perfect. Your fee is $60,000. Once we get access to her accounts, I will transfer it immediately. In a third clip from the living room, Jessica showed Michael edited videos on her phone. Videos of me pretending to be confused. See, she said, laughing. Looks totally real. Michael frowned. 'Cause it is real, right? Jessica rolled her eyes. Are you stupid? Old people always act senile for attention. Real or not, we need the money. My brother says he cannot keep Eric much longer. If social services finds out we lied about everything, we will lose custody permanently. I saved every video, organized them into folders. Then I called my attorney. His name was Richard Stone, 63 years old. The man who had handled all my legal matters for 4 years. After listening to everything, his voice turned serious. Sarah, what they have done amounts to fraud, conspiracy, and attempted elder abuse. If they succeed with this false incompetence claim, it could even be considered kidnapping. Do you want to press charges or just remove them from your life? I want justice, I said firmly. But first I need to find my grandson. Can handle that. Give me 48 hours. I also need you to prepare a dinner party, I said slowly. This Saturday, Jessica wants to throw a reconciliation dinner here. To show everyone I am unfit. I want you there with police officers when I give you the signal. Understood. I will arrange everything. Saturday morning arrived. The day of reckoning. Jessica had transformed my dining room into an elaborate party space. White tablecloths, fresh flowers, expensive china, crystal glasses, all charged to my credit card, of course. At least $18,000 I estimated. By 5 in the evening, guests started arriving. I recognized some distant cousins, few old neighbors. Jessica's brother David, who had taken in Eric. He looked exhausted and uncomfortable. Several strangers who were probably there to serve as witnesses. Jessica sat me at the head of the table like a museum piece. She had even chosen my clothes. Plain beige dress. My hair in a loose bun. No makeup. She wanted me to look frail and confused. I gave her exactly what she wanted. Once everyone was seated, Michael stood up and tapped his wine glass with a spoon. Thank you all for coming, he said with a practiced smile. I know it has been many years since our family has gathered like this. And that is my fault. His voice trembled with fake emotion. A few guests nodded sympathetically. I have been away from my mother for too long, he continued. Out of pride. out of stubbornness. But recently when I learned she had built something incredible all by herself. He paused for effect. I realized it was time to come home. Take care of her. Amanda stood and put her hand on his shoulder. Mrs. Sarah has built an amazing legacy, she said sweetly. But she is not young anymore. Managing a business at her age is not easy. Memory fades. Decisions become harder. They were planting seeds of doubt in everyone's minds. That is why, Michael continued, we have decided to move in permanently. To make sure Mom is well cared for. And with her blessing. He looked at me expectantly. We will take over managing her businesses to protect what she has built. Every eye in the room turned to me. I sat there staring at my empty plate. Silent. Pretending not to understand. Mom, Michael said gently. You agree with this, right? It is for the best. I lifted my head slowly. I looked at Michael. Jessica. Around the table at all the watching faces. Then I smiled. Not a confused smile. Not a weak smile. But a calm, sharp smile. No, I said clearly. I absolutely do not agree. The room went silent. Jessica blinked in confusion. Mom, what are you talking about? I stood up and placed my hands on the table. I'm talking about the fact that you are both liars and thieves. And you think I am too stupid to see through this pathetic act. Michael went pale. Mom, what are you saying? I'm saying I know everything. Every lie. Every scheme. Every dirty trick you have tried since walking into my house. I reached under the table and pulled out a remote control. Pressed the button. The large television on the wall turned on. The first video began playing. It showed Michael in my office opening drawers and photographing my documents. The date and timestamp were clear in the corner. The room was dead silent except for the video. Mom, I can explain, Michael stammered. Sit down, I said sharply. He sat. The second video started. Jessica on her phone in the guest room. Yes, Mr. Franklin, I have all her financial documents. $6,400,000 in liquid assets not counting property. Can you prepare the incompetence paperwork? Your fee is $60,000. Perfect. I will transfer it once we have access to her accounts. Several guests gasped. Someone covered their mouth. That is taken out of context, Jessica said desperately. I laughed coldly. Really? What context justifies planning with a corrupt lawyer to steal my money? The third video played. Michael and Jessica whispering in bed. The video looks real because it is real. Stop it. Old people always act senile to get attention. Real or not, I do not care. We need the money. Michael put his head in his hands. Jessica's face turned bright red. You think I am confused? I asked, looking around the room. Funny. Because I was perfectly clear-headed when I installed cameras throughout this house. When I hired a private investigator. When I documented every single crime you committed. I grabbed a folder from under my chair and threw it on the table. Papers scattered everywhere. Michael Harrison. $412,000 in gambling debt. House foreclosed. Bank account overdrawn. 3 active lawsuits. I turned to Jessica. Jessica Harrison. 4 frozen credit cards. 1 embezzlement charge. 1 vehicle repossession. Currently unemployed and in debt. David, Jessica's brother, jumped to his feet. You told me you had jobs. You said you were getting Eric back next week because you rented a new house. I looked straight at them. Speaking of Eric, let us talk about the grandson you told me was busy with school. The grandson who actually had been taken by child services because you lost custody for neglect. The boy you told that his grandmother was dead. My voice cracked. Dead, Michael. You told your son I was dead. Jessica stood up. That was his idea, not mine. You are both guilty, I said, my voice rising. Guilty of throwing me out 3 days after I buried my husband. Guilty of stealing my home. Guilty of erasing me from Eric's life. And now guilty of trying to steal everything I built from nothing. Tears filled my eyes, but they were tears of rage, not weakness. Do you know what it took to rebuild my life? 2 years selling cakes on street corners. 2 years sleeping on a friend's couch. 2 years of being invisible while you lived in my house. I steadied my breathing. But I rose again. I built 6 bakeries, hired 22 employees, earned millions, all by myself. And when you found out I had money, you did not come back because you loved me. You came back to con me. Jessica was shaking. You cannot prove any of this. I smiled coldly. Really? Then explain this. I placed her cell phone on the table. The investigator extracted all the data under court order. 91 text messages with your lawyer. 23 recorded phone calls. 30 edited videos. All right here. Jessica went white as paper. How did you get my phone? Never underestimate a 69-year-old woman who rebuilt her life from nothing, I said. We know how to be creative. Michael buried his face in his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Mom, I am sorry. We were desperate. No house. No money. No way out. I did not know what else to do. So you decided to rob your own mother. To destroy my reputation. To use me and throw me away again. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. But please do not do this. I am your son. I looked him in the eyes, my voice ice cold. You stopped being my son the day you threw me out 3 days after your father's funeral. The day you returned my letters. The day you told Eric I was dead. I stood tall. Being a son means love, respect, and showing up. You have none of those. You only have greed. The doorbell rang. The room froze. That must be my other guests, I said calmly. I walked to the door and opened it. My attorney Richard stood there in a sharp suit with a briefcase. Behind him were 2 uniformed police officers. Good evening, Mrs. Harrison, Richard said. Right on time, I replied. Come in. I turned back to the stunned room. Everyone, this is Mr. Richard Stone, my attorney. And these officers are here to deliver a legal notice. Richard walked straight to Michael and Jessica. Michael Harrison and Jessica Harrison. You are under criminal investigation for fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, and attempted theft. All charges supported by 17 pieces of evidence including video recordings, text messages, financial documents, and testimony. Michael stood up shaking. You cannot do this. Richard handed him a folder. Your first court hearing is scheduled for Tuesday at 9 in the morning. Jessica let out a desperate laugh. You cannot do this to us. We are family. Family, I repeated, my voice low and deadly. Family does not abandon each other. Family does not lie. Family does not steal. Richard pulled out another document. This is a restraining order. You have exactly 1 hour to collect your belongings. For the next 5 years, you are forbidden from coming within 300 yards of Mrs. Harrison. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Michael collapsed into his chair. Jessica looked around desperately, but no one would meet her eyes. Several guests stood quietly and left. They could not handle the tension. A woman's voice cut through the silence. I always knew you were capable of something terrible, Jessica. But this is truly evil. It was Jessica's sister. She grabbed her purse and walked out without looking back. Within 15 minutes, the room was nearly empty. A few guests hugged me quickly, whispering, "You did the right thing." Then they left too. Only Michael, Jessica, Richard, the officers, and I remained. You have 1 hour, I said calmly. After that, anything left here will be donated. Michael lifted his tear-stained face. Mom, please. I cannot survive this. Do not do this. You survived watching me homeless, I said coldly. You will survive facing consequences for your choices. What about Eric? Michael asked desperately. Smiled. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Everyone turned. Eric was walking down the stairs. Step by step. His face was pale, but his eyes were clear and determined. Eric, Michael shouted. What are you doing here? I live here, Eric said, his voice shaking but strong. With my grandmother. Where I should have been all along. He walked over and took my hand. Jessica laughed shrilly. She kidnapped our son. She is trying to turn him against us. Richard stepped forward. Mrs. Harrison has legal custody of Eric. The temporary order was granted 3 days ago and becomes permanent on Monday. The judge reviewed the neglect case, the lies about the grandmother being deceased, and awarded full guardianship to Mrs. Harrison. Michael's face twisted with anger and pain. "You have taken everything from me. My son. My future. Everything." "No," I said calmly. "You took everything from yourself the moment you chose greed over family." He stared at me. Then he turned and ran up the stairs. I heard doors slamming, suitcases being thrown around. An hour later, Michael and Jessica came back down dragging the same expensive suitcases they had arrived with. I sat on the couch with Eric beside me. Richard sat in the armchair. The officers stood watch to make sure they only took what belonged to them. Jessica walked past without looking at me. Her makeup was smeared, her designer clothes wrinkled, but her eyes were filled with pure hate. Michael stopped at the door. He looked at Eric for a long moment. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Eric squeezed my hand tighter. "I'm sure. I want to stay with someone who never lied to me." Michael closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were filled with despair. "Mom, I tried. Life was hard. Money was tight. Bills kept piling up. And then you became successful. You had everything. Had nothing. It is not fair." I stood up and looked him in the eyes. "Not fair. You threw me out. Cut me off completely. Erased me from your life. Then when I rebuilt everything from nothing, you call it unfair that I will not share with the people who destroyed me. But I am your son." "No," I said firmly. "Being a son means love and care and respect. You are just someone who shares my blood. And blood means nothing when there is no love." Jessica grabbed his arm. "Let us go. There is nothing left for us here." "Wait," Richard said. He pulled out another envelope. "This is for you, Jessica." She ripped it open. Her face went white. "You are suing me." "Yes," I said evenly. "For defamation, harassment, and conspiracy. I am seeking $300,000 in damages. I do not have that kind of money." "Then for the first time in your life, learn how to earn it honestly." Jessica tore the papers and threw them on the floor. "You will regret this, you miserable old woman." One of the officers stepped forward, hand on his belt. "Ma'am, making threats will get you arrested right now." Jessica spat on my floor. Then she turned and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Michael lingered. He looked at Eric one more time. "Son, I still love you." Eric said nothing. He just pressed closer to me. Then Michael walked out. The door closed. Heavy silence filled the house. Eric let out a long breath. "It is over, Grandma." "It is over," I said, wrapping my arms around him. Richard gathered his papers. "Sarah, you did brilliantly today. But I need to warn you. They will fight back. They will try to twist the story. Say you manipulated everything. It will get ugly. Let them try," I said, my voice steady. "I have the truth. And this time I have proof." Richard smiled, that rare smile he only showed when he knew victory was certain. "Then we are going to win." After everyone left, it was just Eric and me. But the silence was not heavy. It was peaceful. "Grandma," Eric said softly. "Are you really okay? I mean, you just faced your own son. That could not have been easy." I took a deep breath. It was not easy, I admitted. Because no matter what he did, part of me still remembers the little boy I raised. But what was harder than confronting him was letting him keep hurting me just because we share blood. At some point you have to choose. Protect the person destroying you or protect yourself. Chose myself. Eric looked at me with glistening eyes. "What about me?" "You too," I said, turning to face him. "You deserve a life built on truth and real love." He threw his arms around me and cried. Not sad tears. Released tears. I held him and rocked gently, letting him cry until the pain was gone. When he finally pulled back and wiped his face, he asked, "What happens now, Grandma?" Smiled. "Now we live. Honestly. No lies. No fear. The bakeries are still doing well. And you know what?" I tilted my head. "When you finish high school, if you want, I will teach you how to run everything. Not because you have to, but because maybe you will love it." His eyes lit up. "Really? You would let me work with you?" "Course. But first you need to be 17. Have friends. Study. Discover who you are without your parents' lies weighing you down. The business can wait." He smiled his first real smile since walking through my door. That night after Eric fell asleep in his new room, his name already on the door, I went to the back porch. I sat with hot tea and let the quiet wrap around me. My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Davies. Just heard the news. The whole city is talking. Are you alright? Type back. Better than ever. I'm free now. His response came fast. I always knew you were a fighter. I will come by tomorrow to meet Eric. So proud of you. I set my phone down and looked up at the night sky. The full moon glowed over my peaceful garden. I thought about everything. About 15 years ago when I slept on a friend's couch with nothing. And now here I sat in my mansion with my grandson safe, my business thriving, and my dignity intact. Michael and Jessica had tried to destroy me again. They came with plans and lies and schemes. But they forgot one thing. You cannot break someone who has already fallen and learn to stand back up. A person who has been shattered and still chose to rebuild cannot be destroyed a second time. I took the last sip of tea, smiled into the darkness, and whispered to myself, "Thank you, life, for the falls, the wounds, the betrayals. They made me who I am." For the first time in 15 years I slept deeply. No heaviness, no fear, no hate, only peace. Because when justice comes, it tastes like freedom. The court hearing happened at the downtown courthouse 3 weeks later. I arrived with Richard and Eric. Mr. Davies sat quietly behind us, steady as always. Michael and Jessica came in with their lawyer, a tired-looking man who seemed to know he was defending the indefensible. Jessica wore a simple suit, trying to look innocent. Michael wore a wrinkled suit, unshaven with dark circles under his eyes. When our eyes met, he looked away immediately. The judge entered. Her name was Judge Patricia Morgan. About 55 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes behind red glasses. She arranged her papers and began. Case number 5793. Sarah Harrison versus Michael Harrison and Jessica Harrison. Charges include fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, and attempted asset theft. She looked up. How do the defendants plead? Their lawyer stood. Your Honor, we believe this is a family misunderstanding. My clients only wanted to help and protect Mrs. Harrison. Richard stood immediately. Your Honor, there is no misunderstanding. We have 17 pieces of clear evidence. Videos, recordings, messages, and forged documents. They planned every step to declare my client mentally unfit so they could seize her assets. The judge nodded. I will review the evidence. Proceed. For nearly 2 hours, every piece of proof was presented. The recordings, the messages, the fake medical reports, a certified doctor's evaluation confirming I was fully competent. Sitting there watching my personal pain become undeniable truth, I realized this was not just a wound anymore. This was justice happening. When Richard finished, the judge stayed silent for a long time. Defense, she finally said. Any response? The lawyer stood, his voice weak. Your Honor, my clients admit they made mistakes. But they acted under extreme financial pressure. Judge Morgan removed her glasses. So you are saying they deliberately tried to defraud an elderly woman because they were broke? By that logic, half the city could do the same. She turned to Michael and Jessica. Do either of you have anything to say? Michael stood slowly, facing me. I have no defense, Your Honor. I hurt the one person I should have protected most. I will accept whatever punishment I deserve. Jessica stayed seated, arms crossed, chin up. Have nothing to say. The judge sighed and put her glasses back on. Based on the evidence, I find probable cause on all charges. The restraining order stays in effect. This case will proceed to sentencing within 30 days. Jessica let out a bitter laugh. Silence, the judge snapped. And regarding custody of the minor, Eric Harrison. After reviewing the social worker reports and the history of neglect, I grant permanent legal guardianship to Mrs. Sarah Harrison. I felt Eric's hand squeeze mine tight. The judge hit her gavel. This hearing is over. The defendants may not leave the city until sentencing. As we walked out, eyes followed me. Some people recognized me from magazine articles. Others just stared. Eric held my hand tighter. Everything happened so fast. Just as sometimes does when the truth is clear, I said. Mr. Davies caught up to us outside. Sarah, the press wants to talk to you. Do you want to make a statement? Pause. Part of me wanted the world to know the truth. But another part just wanted peace. Well, not today. Maybe never. This was a family matter. The law made it public, but I will not make it a circus. Mr. Davies nodded in understanding. For weeks later, Richard called. Sarah, I have news. Michael and Jessica are offering a plea deal. They will plead guilty, serve 1 year of community service and 4 years probation if you drop the civil lawsuit. I hesitated. And if I refuse? Then we go to trial. They could face 3 to 5 years in prison. But it will take at least a year and you will have to relive everything in court again. I looked out the window. Eric was in the backyard playing with a basketball, laughing like a normal teenager should. I will accept the deal, I said. Are you certain? Yes. Eric is safe. I have peace. I do not need revenge anymore. I just want to move forward. Richard sighed. You are a better person than most, Sarah. No, I said quietly. I am just tired of fighting. I want peace. The deal was signed a week later. Michael and Jessica pleaded guilty. They were sentenced to 1 year of community service at a nursing home where they would care for elderly people just like the one they tried to hurt. The restraining order stayed in place. Eric remained with me. I added one more condition. Both of them had to attend mandatory therapy so they would not hurt anyone else. That evening, Eric and I sat on the porch together. He had changed so much in just 4 months. He had gained weight. His face was fuller. His eyes were bright again. Grandma, he asked quietly, why did you accept that deal? They tried to destroy you and you let them avoid prison. I took a deep breath. Because revenge is an illusion, Eric. People think it brings peace, but it just keeps wounds open. I could have sent them to prison easily. But would that make my life better? They already lost everything. Their home. Their reputation. Everyone's trust. And most importantly, I looked at him, they lost you. He lowered his head. I do not think I matter to them. Maybe not yet, I said gently. But one day they will understand. When everything goes quiet and they realize what they truly lost, that pain will last longer than any prison sentence. Do you think they will change? I do not know, I admitted. But I gave them a chance. What they do with it is up to them. He nodded slowly. You are strong, Grandma. Smiled. Not strong, sweetheart. Just someone who learned that holding on to hate is like drinking poison and hoping someone else dies. In the end, you are the one who suffers. We sat quietly, listening to crickets in the garden. So what now? Eric asked. Now we live, I said, putting my arm around him. Truly live. Without looking back. Without carrying the past. He smiled. That sounds perfect. It is more than perfect, I said, squeezing his shoulder. It is freedom. The kind we earned. 8 months passed since the trial. 8 months of silence from Michael and Jessica. Until one rainy afternoon when Linda called. Sarah, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice shaking. What is it? I saw your son at the grocery store today. My chest tightened. Kept my voice calm. He looks different. Thinner. Tired. Worn out. He was buying basic food. Rice, pasta, and soup. He seemed broken. When he saw me, he tried to leave. But I called after him. Asked how he was. He broke down crying right there in the store. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. Linda continued. He told me he lost everything. No one will hire him because everyone knows about the case. Jessica left him 3 months ago when she realized there was no more money. She did not even finish her community service. Just disappeared. Where is he living? I asked quietly. He is renting a room in a bad part of town. Working delivery jobs. Warehouse shifts. Whatever he can find. I stayed silent. He told me he wrote you letters, Linda said softly. But never had the courage to send them. A small ache moved through my chest. Not pity. Something deeper. Linda, why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know. I am not saying you should forgive him or help him. just that he is paying the price. I thanked her and hung up. I sat in my office staring at my phone for a long time. Eric came home from school, backpack on his shoulders. "Grandma, do we have any cookies? I'm starving." "In the blue jar," I said, my mind elsewhere. He noticed immediately. Something is wrong. I hesitated. Then I told him the truth. "Linda called. She saw your father." Eric froze. I told him everything. Poverty. The loneliness. The divorce. The struggles. He sat across from me, thinking for a long time. "You know what is strange," he finally said. "I thought I would feel sorry for him. But I do not feel anything." "That is not strange," I replied. "He is going through what we went through. Being abandoned. Being treated like you do not matter." Eric nodded. Now he knows how it feels. Then he looked at me, wise beyond his years. "You are thinking about helping him, are not you?" I sighed. "Part of me is. After all, he is still my son. Somewhere deep down, there is still a mother who does not want to see her child suffer. But another part knows it is not my job to save him. He made his choices. Now he has to face them." Eric thought for a moment. "You should do what brings you peace, Grandma. Not what makes you feel guilty. Not what other people expect. What lets you sleep at night." Smiled. "You are wise for 18. I have a good teacher," he said with a grin before running off to find cookies. 3 weeks later, I asked Richard to check on Michael's situation. Not to help. Just to know the facts before making any decision. The report came back and it was worse than I thought. Michael was living in a tiny room for $500 a month. Working 14-hour shifts delivering packages. Making barely $1,200 a month. Anyone who searched his name online found the headline, "Man who tried to scam his own mother." No one would hire him for anything better. Jessica had disappeared completely. Remarried some businessman in another state. Changed her last name. Worse, Michael had tried 4 times to see Eric. All 4 requests were denied. By Eric himself. Attached to the report was a letter Michael had written to Eric. Richard had gotten a copy through legal channels. I read it alone in my office, stopping several times as my voice broke. "Eric, I know I lost the right to call you that. I lost it when I chose money over you. When I lied about your grandmother. When I let greed control everything because I was too weak to stop it. I am not asking for forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I just want you to know I love you. Always have. Always will. The worst punishment is not poverty or community service. It is waking up every day knowing you exist but not being allowed to see you. Not even allowed to ask if you are happy. Your grandmother gave you what I never could. Stability. Truth. Love without conditions. You are better off without me. But I will always wish you peace. Even from far away. Even if I am never part of your life again." I folded the letter, hands trembling. It was not manipulation. It was real pain in every word. That night at dinner I looked at Eric. "I need to tell you something. Your father wrote you some letters." Eric froze, fork halfway to his mouth. "I do not want to read them." "You do not have to," I said gently. "I just want you to know they exist. Because one day when you are older you might want to know. Or maybe you will not. But the choice should be yours." He lowered his head. "He is suffering. And those are his consequences." Eric looked up with tears in his eyes. "He abandoned me, Grandma. He lied to me. He used me. So yes, he deserves what he is getting." He nodded. "You are allowed to feel that way. I am not asking you to forgive him. Just know that if you ever want to, that door can be open. And it will be your choice." He stayed quiet. Later that night I heard him crying in his room. Not from hate. From grief for the father he wished he had. I understood then that some wounds need time to heal even after justice is served. 4 months later in August, I got a call from the community service supervisor. "Mrs. Harrison, I am calling about Mr. Michael. He completed his required hours." "Already?" I asked. "Actually, he did 400 hours. He kept volunteering after his sentence ended. Excellent behavior. The residents love him. He reads to them. Plays cards with them. Helps with physical therapy. I do not know your history, but he has truly changed. I thanked her and hung up. That night I made my final decision. I would not help Michael. But I would not punish him anymore either. I would let go. Let him walk his own path while I lived mine. Because true justice is not eternal punishment. It is letting everyone face exactly what they created. And Michael was still facing his consequences every single day. 1 year passed since that terrible night. Eric was now 19, in his second year of college studying business. He was doing well. Great friends. Bright future. His smile never faded. He spent weekends helping at the bakeries. Not because I asked but because he wanted to. "Grandma, look at this," Eric said, showing me his phone. We were sitting in the newest bakery in the west side of the city. A customer posted a video of the birthday cake you made. Has 100,000 views. 100,000, I said in shock. That is organic marketing, Grandma. We should open an official account. Post behind-the-scenes videos. Share recipes. Build a community online. I looked at my 19-year-old grandson talking like a businessman and felt my heart swell with pride. "You sound like an entrepreneur," I said. Eric smiled. "I learned from watching you." Mr. Davies, sitting at the next table, laughed. "This boy is going to be your successor, Sarah." "It is too soon," I said. "But if that is the path he chooses, I will support him completely." Eric looked at me seriously. "Grandma, can I ask something?" "Always." "Have you thought about franchising? Not just more stores. Letting others open Sweet Sarah bakeries in other cities with your recipes and your brand." Mr. Davies put down his coffee, interested. "The kid has vision," he said. Smiled. "Franchising is not simple, Eric. Quality control, training, logistics. But imagine," he said excitedly. "Sweet Sarah stores in 20 cities, 50 cities. Creating jobs. Sharing your story. That is real legacy." Hearing my 19-year-old grandson talk about legacy with such fire, I realized I had not just found my grandson again. I had found a partner. Someone who looked at the future with the same passion I once had. "We will think about it," I said carefully. "Step by step." He grinned and started typing notes on his phone immediately. One October morning, almost 2 years after everything happened, I received a handwritten letter. No return address. My hand shook as I opened it. It was Michael's handwriting. "Mom, I know I have no right to write this. I know the restraining order is still active. Maybe this letter will be torn up. But I have to try. I am not asking for forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I am not asking for money either. I learned to live with almost nothing. And strangely, that taught me more than all my years of comfort. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for not sending me to prison when you could have. Thank you for giving Eric the life I never could. Thank you for forcing me to look in the mirror and see what I became. The past 2 years have been the hardest of my life. But also the most important. I learned the value of honest work. The dignity of earning what you have. The humility of asking for help. I still do delivery work. But I also volunteer at the nursing home 3 times a week. Not because I have to. Because helping others reminds me who I should have been for you. There is an old man there named George who reminds me of Dad. I read the newspaper to him because his eyes are failing. He told me, "Michael, it is never too late to start over. It is only too late when you stop trying." I will not stop. I will keep working to be better. To be the kind of man who can one day look Eric in the eye without shame. I do not expect you to reply. I just wanted you to know you were right. And I was wrong. With all the respect I am slowly learning, Michael. I folded the letter and wiped my tears. It was not manipulation. I knew my son well enough to know when he meant every word. But one letter could not erase years of pain. Could not heal old wounds. Could not rebuild a burned bridge. It was just a beginning. I placed the letter in my desk drawer. Not ready to respond. But unable to throw it away. For Eric's 20th birthday I threw a party. His college friends came. Mr. Davies and his family. Linda and her family. Richard. Few employees. The house was decorated with silver and blue balloons. On the table was a 3-layer cake I made myself. covered in cream frosting with delicate sugar flowers. As everyone sang happy birthday, I looked at my grandson surrounded by people who loved him genuinely. No lies. No hidden agendas. This was the real victory. Not the bank account. Not the chain of bakeries. Not the reputation. But this moment. This happy young man surrounded by real love. After everyone left, Eric and I cleaned up together. Halfway through he stopped. "Grandma." "Yes, sweetheart. I know Dad sent you a letter." Froze, dish in hand. "How do you know?" "I saw it when I was looking for a file in your office. I did not read it. But I recognized his handwriting. I noticed you did not reply. And I am glad." I let out a breath. But Eric continued, his voice softer. "I think maybe someday I will want to talk to him." My heart squeezed. "Are you sure?" "Not really," he admitted. "But holding anger just makes me tired. I do not want to forgive him. At least not yet. Maybe never. I just want to think about him without it hurting so much." He put his hand on his chest. "That is called healing, Eric," I said quietly. "And healing takes its own time." "How long does it take?" "Different for everyone. You will know when it happens." "It is not now," he said softly. "And that is okay," I said, wrapping my arms around him. In the warm glow of the party lights, I felt overwhelming gratitude for the chance to raise a child again. This time the right way. 3 years later, Michael sent 4 more letters. He never asked for anything. He just wrote about finding steady work at a small bakery baking bread. About attending therapy every week. About joining a support group for people recovering from gambling addiction. I never replied. But I read every letter. And kept them all. Eric graduated college with honors. He was chosen to give a speech at graduation. His speech was about second chances and new beginnings. He did not mention family directly. But everyone who knew our story understood. He was accepted to 3 business schools for his MBA. He chose to stay local. "I want to learn what you did, but with proper education," he said, smiling. On graduation day, while taking photos on the campus lawn, Eric looked at his phone and went quiet. "Grandma, there is a message." "From who?" "From Dad." He read it out loud. "Eric, I know I have no right. But I wanted to congratulate you. I saw the news about your graduation. I am proud of you. Even if I cannot be there, I am proud. You became the man I should have been. Love, Dad." Eric's hands shook slightly. "Grandma, he was there. At the ceremony." "How do you know?" "Linda told me." He stood at the back entrance. Watched from far away. Then left quietly. I put my hand on Eric's cheek. "How do you feel?" "Sad," he said. "But not angry anymore. Just sad about what could have been but was not. That is called growing up, sweetheart." Eric looked at me. "Think I am ready. Not to forgive. But to talk. To listen. Try." I smiled, throat tight. "You are sure?" "I'm sure." For weeks later, on a Saturday morning, Michael walked into my living room. It was the first time I had seen him in 4 years. He looked thinner. Gray hair at his temples. Real humility in his eyes. None of the fake confidence he once had. Eric stood beside me. Mr. Davies and Richard sat nearby as witnesses. Michael's voice shook. "Thank you for letting me come." I motioned for him to sit. The conversation lasted nearly an hour. Honest, painful, but real. Michael did not ask for forgiveness. He just shared his journey. The therapy. The support groups. The work at the bakery. The volunteering. "I did not come here for a second chance," he said, looking at Eric. "I know I do not deserve it. I just wanted you both to know I am trying. Change. One day at a time." Eric was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "I do not know if I can ever fully forgive you, Dad. You hurt me too much." Daniel nodded, eyes red. "No." But Eric continued. "I also do not want to carry hate forever. So maybe we can try. Slowly. With no promises. Just see what happens." Tears streamed down Michael's face. "That is more than enough for me." I looked at the man who had once been the little boy I held. The one who broke me. Who was now broken himself. And I said the hardest words of my life. "Michael, I cannot forgive you yet. Maybe I never fully will. But I do not hate you anymore. And that is enough. He nodded, tears falling. It is enough, Mom. It is enough. After he left, Eric hugged me tight. Grandma, thank you for agreeing to this. I know it was not easy. It was not, I admitted. But for you and maybe a little for myself. Because holding hate is exhausting, Eric. Now 5 years have passed since that night everything changed. The Sweet Sarah franchise has grown to 28 stores across 9 states. Eric is now the director of operations. Respected. Successful. Happy. Mr. Davies passed away last year. Peacefully with family around him. He left his shares to a foundation helping women over 50 start businesses. Linda is still my best friend. We have lunch every Sunday. As for Michael, he exists on the edges of our lives now. Birthday dinners. Thanksgiving. Christmas. Always polite. Always at a distance. He opened his own small bakery. Earning an honest living. Eric helped him with the business plan. I neither helped nor stopped them. We are not a perfect family. Probably never will be. But at least we are learning. Learning that forgiveness is not forgetting. It is refusing to let pain control you anymore. This morning while I was making carrot cake, the first recipe I made when this all began, Eric walked into the kitchen. Grandma, I just signed 8 more franchise deals. I said. I cannot keep up with you anymore. I learned from the best, he said laughing, stealing a piece of shredded carrot. You know what is funny, he said. If someone told me 5 years ago my life would look like this, I would not have believed them. Are you happy now, I asked. He thought for a moment, then smiled brightly. Very happy. Because you taught me it does not matter how many times we fall. What matters is how many times we choose to get back up. I hugged my grandson, now a grown man, and felt complete peace in my heart. Because after everything, true victory is not about money or revenge or recognition. It is about raising a good person, living with purpose, and proving that every new beginning is possible at any age. Some wounds never fully disappear. They just become scars reminding us we lived, we hurt, and we healed. I once thought justice meant seeing those who hurt me punished. But now I understand true justice is when your heart is no longer imprisoned by hate. Family is not always where you were born. It is where the door stays open no matter how many times you fall. If someone in your life has hurt you, maybe you are not ready to forgive. And that is okay. Just start by letting go of the anger a little. Letting your heart breathe. Making room for something better. Thank you for listening to this story. A story of pain, healing, and love strong enough to begin again. Because every story can be a mirror reflecting our own lives. And sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well.